When Officer Dana's K9 suddenly went berserk in the middle of a quiet forest, she thought he'd spotted a wild animal. But then the dog began barking at an old tree, at a strange lump oozing black sap. Moments later, when they cut it open, everyone at the scene stood frozen in horror. Before we start, make sure to hit like and subscribe, and really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. It was supposed to be a routine forest patrol, just another quiet afternoon for Officer Dana and her K9 partner Max. The air was still, sunlight filtering through tall pines as they walked the narrow dirt trail. But then, without warning, Max stopped. His ears shot up, his body stiffened, and a low growl rumbled in his throat. Dana frowned. "What is it, boy?" she asked, scanning the trees. There was nothing. No movement, no sound, just the uneasy silence of the woods. But Max didn't move. Instead, he pulled hard on the leash, leading her toward a massive oak towering above the others. As they got closer, Dana noticed something strange. The bark near the base of the tree was swollen, bulging out unnaturally like a knot that had grown too large. A thick, dark liquid dripped slowly down the trunk. Max began barking, louder now, pawing at the ground, refusing to back away. Dana's unease deepened. She'd seen this dog face armed suspects without flinching. Whatever this was, it wasn't normal. And Max knew it. Within minutes, backup arrived, 2 forest rangers and another officer. They gathered around the massive oak, puzzled expressions crossing their faces. The lump on the trunk looked like the tree had swallowed something whole. When one of the rangers reached out to touch it, he flinched. "It's warm," he muttered, rubbing his hand against his sleeve. Dana knelt closer. A sticky black liquid seeped from a thin crack. It smelled sharp and metallic, like burnt wires and wet soil. The sight made her stomach twist. Max's barking turned into deep, uneasy growls. His tail was tucked low, yet he refused to step back. As the wind whispered through the forest, the lump seemed to shift, almost like it had taken a shallow breath. Everyone froze. "Trees don't move like that," one ranger said quietly. His voice carried an edge of fear he couldn't hide. Dana's eyes met Max's. He stood perfectly still now, hackles raised, staring at that dark bulge. And for the first time, she felt it too. Something alive was inside. The team circled the tree, flashlights sweeping across the rough bark. No one spoke for a moment, the air thick with unease. Finally, one of the rangers broke the silence. "Could be an animal trapped inside," he suggested. "Maybe it got stuck years ago." But Dana shook her head slowly. The shape was wrong, too symmetrical, too deliberate. She ran her gloved hand along the bulge and froze. Embedded beneath the bark were faint lines, like scratches. No, like claw marks. And just below them, something else. A thin strand of fabric almost completely swallowed by the wood. "What if this isn't an animal?" she whispered. Max began pacing, restless, whining as he pawed at the roots. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Dana straightened, resolve hardening in her eyes. "We need to open it," she said firmly. "Carefully, whatever's in there, it's been waiting a long time." Max barked once, sharp, insistent, as if to agree. They brought out the tools, a small hatchet, a field knife, and finally, a compact chainsaw from the truck. The forest was silent now, every sound swallowed by the thick air. Even the birds had gone quiet. Max stood a few feet back, pacing, his low growl vibrating through the stillness. "Start with the edges," Dana ordered softly. The first ranger nodded and drove the hatchet into the bark. The impact echoed through the clearing. Max immediately barked, loud and desperate, his leash jerking against Dana's grip. His behavior wasn't just alert, it was frantic, almost pleading. As the cuts deepened, a thick, dark liquid seeped out, glistening in the sunlight. It wasn't sap. It was too thin, too metallic. The smell made one of the officers gag. Then came the sound, a soft creak deep inside the trunk, like wood straining against something it shouldn't hold. "Keep going," Dana said, her voice tight. The chainsaw roared to life. Chips of bark flew, dust clouding the air. Suddenly something glinted beneath the surface, Metal. Everyone froze. Dana's hands trembled as she leaned in closer. The forest seemed to pulse with quiet dread. Max began to howl. The final cut tore through the last layer of bark, and then everything went still. The chainsaw's hum faded into silence. Dana stepped closer, her flashlight trembling in her hand. Beneath the jagged edges of the trunk was a hollow space, small but unmistakably man-made. She reached in cautiously, her fingers brushing something cold and rough. When she pulled it out, the officers gasped. It was a small, rusted metal box, its sides eaten away by time, completely engulfed by the tree's growth. Dana set it on the ground, kneeling beside it. Inside, wrapped in a decayed cloth, were old papers, half dissolved, and a photograph, its edges yellowed and cracked. But what made everyone's blood run cold was what lay beneath it. A fragment of bone, pale, slender, unmistakably human. No one spoke. Even the forest seemed to recoil. Dana lifted the photo with trembling fingers. A young woman smiled back at her, standing in front of the same oak tree, decades younger, frozen in time. One of the rangers whispered, That's the missing botanist. She vanished 30 years ago. Max whimpered softly, lowering his head. Dana's throat tightened. Whatever secret this tree had been keeping, it had just been unearthed. Hours later, under the cold glow of floodlights, investigators worked around the old oak. Forensics teams carefully extracted the remains, each fragment telling a story time had tried to erase. Dana stood back with Max at her side, watching in silence. The next morning, the results came in. The remains matched a woman named Lydia Moore, a botanist who disappeared during a thunderstorm 30 years ago. She had been researching forest regeneration, the ability of trees to heal and grow around wounds. Ironically, that very phenomenon had become her tomb. According to the report, Lydia had likely been sheltering under the oak when lightning struck. The blast split the trunk, trapping her between its halves. As the tree healed over the years, it grew around her body, sealing her completely inside. Dana felt a chill crawl up her spine. All this time, the forest hadn't been hiding a crime. It had been holding a tragedy. She looked down at Max, who sat quietly beside her, eyes fixed on the tree. He had sensed something no one else could. Not danger, but distress. The air felt lighter now, as if the forest itself had exhaled. The secret it had guarded for decades was finally free. Dana knelt beside Max and whispered, "You did it, boy. You gave her peace." As dawn broke over the forest, the ancient oak stood silent once more, its secret finally laid to rest. A soft breeze rustled the leaves, carrying with it a strange calm, as if the woods themselves were whispering their thanks. Officer Dana stood beside Max, the loyal K9 who refused to give up. She placed a gentle hand on his fur. "Some heroes don't wear badges," she murmured. "They just listen to what we can't hear." Max looked up at her, eyes steady, tail still. The forest had seen tragedy, but also something pure: instinct, compassion, and closure. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay with us for more unbelievable, real-inspired stories that remind us some heroes walk on four paws.